So here we are at the end of our journey, and it's been a real privilege to be able to walk it with you. We owe a debt of gratitude to NIC, to National Institute of Corrections, and to NAPSA for making this possible, and to our fantastic AMSA film crew here all the way from Baltimore. So what we've been focusing on is a lot of things around implementation science. Pastor Edward, my good friend, has been talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we finished up with this notion of dialogue and how we think together. So for our last video, we'd like to drop deeper into this thing about thinking. What is it that we do when we're talking and thinking together? What is this creative process that seems to come up with the right answer if we can think in the right way? So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you a riddle, and I want you to do something with me. I want you to get an answer to the riddle, and while you're getting an answer to the riddle, I want you to try and pay attention to what happens in your mind as you're answering the riddle and what feelings you're having. So it's almost like doing two things at once, right? Answer the riddle, but pay attention to your mind and your feelings at the same time. All right, so here's the riddle. If I have a baseball bat and a ball, and together they cost $1.10, right? So the bat and the ball, together they cost $1.10. Now, if the bat costs $1 more than the ball, how much does the ball cost on its own? Got it? Together $1.10. The bat's $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost on its own? All right, so I can see you're all thinking. So I'm going to guess, I wish I could talk with you now and see what happened, right? And especially when you ask people to work this in teams, it's even more interesting because people then begin to start solving it together. I'm going to guess, though, that the first thing into each of your mind was, oh, the ball costs 10 cents, right? So let's see if that's the correct answer. Maybe some other people had a different answer after that, but probably the first answer into your mind was 10 cents. So here's the riddle, right? So we know that the ball, take a look at this screen, the ball and the bat cost $1.10. The bat's $1 more than the ball. So our first answer is 10 cents. Well, what's $1 more than 10 cents? $1 more than 10 cents is $1.10. You take the $1.10 and you add it to the 10 cents, and what do you get? You get $1.20. So the 10-cent answer is close, but it's not quite right. So let's try, if 10 cents is too much, let's try something less. Let's say the ball costs $0. It doesn't cost anything. $1 more than 0 is $1. Add the two together and you get $1. Oh, that's not right either. Must be something in between. Let's try 5 cents. 5 cents, $1 more than 5 cents. $1.05, added together, you get $1.10. So 5 cents is the correct answer. Now, did you notice what was going on in your mind as you were trying to solve the riddle? Most of us get the 10-cent answer, and then we think, wait now, that's a riddle. This is too easy. It can't be 10 cents. It must be something different. And then some of us, me, I said, I don't want to work anymore on that problem. It's too hard. And I gave up. I said, 10 cents is good enough. But some people keep working on it. And do you notice what happens when you keep working on it? Your mind starts to shift into a different kind of thinking. This is what Daniel Kahneman called fast and slow thinking. He won the Nobel Prize for economics. And he says there's two ways of thinking in our mind. The fast thinking, you get this answer quickly, 10 cents. And it's almost correct, but it's not quite correct. So you need to go into slow thinking to figure out the right answer. Another analogy for this is like supposing the Wright brothers, they're trying to build a plane. Think of all those planes that they tried before they actually flew a plane. Their first planes were the 10-cent answers. They were almost there, but they didn't quite fly. When they finally flew, they had the 5-cent answer, their plane was flying. Now, which of you would get on a plane today that was built with 10-cent thinking? None of us. We want to get on a plane that's built with 5-cent thinking. That's our challenge in the criminal justice system. We have to get a 5-cent criminal justice system. And what we've got at the moment is kind of like a 10-cent criminal justice system. So use this metaphor as you're thinking. Is that your 10-cent answer or your 5-cent answer? Let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Here's what happens, right? So if you noticed, you had an experience. That's at the very ground level. We get the data of our senses. You got the data of the riddle, and you have the data of your consciousness because you were paying attention to what happened in your mind. That's data too. You experience that. You have an experience as you're thinking, you're experiencing your thinking. So we have this level of experience. Out of that level comes the first question that is essential for us to ask as leaders. And the first question is the what. What is the answer? And when we ask the what question, or it can be who or why or when, it's the same thing. You're looking for understanding. And you get an answer. You get your 10-cent answer. It's a good answer. It's an understanding. But then you need to ask the second question. And the second question is this. The second question is it so? Is my understanding correct? Very important that we ask this question because it's only now that you get to the truth. The what is it is a question for understanding. The is it so is a question for truth. And you're trying to arrive at knowledge. And we all have this desire in us to understand and to know what's real. It's only at the second level do you get to know what's real. In criminal justice, this plays out in the following way. For years, we thought that boot camps were a good alternative to prisons. We thought they were going to be less expensive. We thought they were going to reduce recidivism more than prisons did. And we thought it was going to be a win-win situation. It turned out they weren't less expensive and they didn't reduce recidivism. So we spent a lot of money on a good understanding. It was a good idea. It worked in the military. It should work for us. It wasn't the right answer. So this is why you need research to help us answer this question, the is it so? It's too complex for individual minds to answer. Collectively, we need to answer it and we need the help of research. There's another question though. Once you know what is true and what is real, here's the next question that emerges. Is it good? Now that we know what the reality is, what should we do? What's the right thing to do here? And now we're seeking justice. See, it's a different kind of a question. It's a question for justice, for ethics, for morals, for value. And this is where we have these beautiful values of freedom, of autonomy, of independence, of dignity that we're trying to seek. So we really need to ask this question, is our system just? And we know that baked into our system, there are systematic sources of injustice where we're actually harming people. We need to reverse those and advance the systems of justice that are benefiting people. So this third question is critical for leaders. Then there's the fourth question. And the fourth question that emerges in our consciousness naturally is this. It's the is it loving question. It's a different question than is it good? Because now we're not looking for justice, we're looking for mercy. We're going beyond equality to what it is to be human and the fullness of human meaning. When you think about laughter, even if you're in a terrible situation, you can still laugh. What are you doing? You're going beyond the terrible situation, and we have this amazing capacity for beauty and for laughter and for meaning making, even in the midst of suffering. So this question, is it loving, takes us to a whole different level. And you might be wondering, why is he asking about that question? Well, let me give you an example why that's different than the is it good question. We dropped the atom bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. America decided to do that. It made a decision, this is a good thing to do, and we carried that decision out. Ever since we did that, there's been a great debate. It's a moral debate. Was that the right thing to do? Was that a good thing to do? And you've got people arguing on both sides. You've got a debate about it. And on the one hand, people are saying, yes, it was the right thing to do. It stopped the war a year early. We never would have been able to end the war without doing that, and it saved 1 million lives. On the other hand, yes, we know it killed about 250,000, a lot of people almost instantaneously, and left a lot of debris after it. But if you ask the question, was that a loving act? it's very difficult to say yes. It's a different kind of a question. So this is the challenge for what it is to be human and trying to work in a human system. We're not building a skyscraper, we're building a human system. And we want our families to be loving. We want our schools that the kids go to be loving. Why not an educational system that's a loving one? Why not a criminal justice system that's a loving system? This is an important question for you all to be asking. And if you notice then, the last thing on this chart is, what were the feelings you were having when you were trying to answer the riddle? Some of us, I don't like math, and then we get these feelings coming up from our past. I'm not good at math. You see, feelings, we need to pay attention. Remember that slide we had about affect, the people who had a lot of skill in affect and they never used it in their meetings. It's the feelings that drive us through all 4 questions. They give weight and momentum to all our knowing and our doing. This is what's happening when we're in dialogue. We're going up the river of the 4 questions, and we're seeking new meaning to emerge from the collective. That's why it's dialogue and not a debate and not a discussion, which is for a different kind of a process. To end, let me use this metaphor. A scissors metaphor is, I think, what we've been doing this whole journey. The top blade of the scissor, we've been talking about evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice or evidence-informed practice in diversity, equity, and inclusion, all the work you've been doing with Pastor Palmer. The implementation science, leadership, all of these things that we know about what is effective. The bottom blade is the scissors. It's about practice-based evidence. It's what you do every single day. Every single day you are practicing, you're in work, and you're getting evidence. Depending on what you do, different things happen. I have no clue about that. You completely know all of that knowledge. I have no clue. Edward has no clue. Jody, who will be with us later, has no clue. What we're trying to do is bring these ideas, the top blade, and your knowledge of your local systems together, and to get this, to get your insights. Because it's your insights, it's how you answer each of those 4 questions. What is it? Is it so? Is it good? Is it loving? That's what's going to create a fairer, more just, more equal criminal justice system. And in many ways, America is depending on you to come up with those answers.